Hi, this is Kathy Yaffa with School Spotlight, and I'm here today at the Hannah School in Beverly on Bribble Avenue, and we are going to have a little tour of the school and see a couple of classes in action. But first, I'm going to ring the bell to get buzzed in like all good visitors. I'll sign in the office, and I'll meet you in the lobby where we will talk with the principal, Mrs. Susan Schneider. See you soon. I'm here now in the lobby with Mrs. Susan Snyder, the principal of the Hannah School. Tell us a little bit about the Hannah School. Why is it called the Hannah School?
Well, the school is named for the USS Hannah, which was the first naval ship in Washington's Navy. We have models of it around the building. It was renovated in 2000, so the original building was kept intact and renovated, and then an additional wing, which is the back hallway, was added on in 2000, and that houses our art room, music room, science room, library, and computer lab. So it's really well done. It's really a comfortable building for elementary school students.
And how many students and classes do you have in this building?
We have 19 classrooms with about 360 students currently in grades K through 5.
And how many faculty do you have?
All together, we have about 50 faculty members, including teachers, paraprofessionals, office staff, custodians, and kitchen workers.
And you have really a very lovely setting
Yeah.
here at the Hannah School. You were telling me earlier that that setting is used for some of your science studies. Tell us a little about that.
Sure. I mean, really formally and informally. We find a lot of our families come to the grounds on weekends. They bring their children here because it's a great space that's set back from the street to ride bicycles, and we have woods and trails associated with the area, and a big field and a pond out front. And we really get to see lots of different wildlife and aspects of nature with the pond. Each spring we have an egret who spends some time with us, and the kids love looking at the egret. We always get pairs of mallard ducks. We have frogs, turtles. We have snapping turtles that come out every year and walk across the road to our right next to the school and lay eggs. And we usually see baby snapping turtles crossing the road in September at the beginning of school. So it's really a great resource. It's a beautiful setting. Our science teacher often runs outside and gets water from the pond to analyze organisms in the pond or water quality. He gathers other different leaves and soil samples and all kinds of things from the grounds and uses them in the science room with our students. So it's really great.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Tell us a little bit about what we're going to see today. Obviously, we can't see everything, so we've kind of narrowed it down. Would you just give us a little preview as to where we're going and what we're going to see?
Sure. We're going to go to a second grade classroom and a third grade classroom. We're going to start off in a second grade classroom with Mrs. Quadros, and you'll see their morning meeting, which is a responsive classroom style morning meeting. And then we'll go over and visit Miss Cindric's third grade and see a reading street lesson, and she'll be using the smart board. All of our classrooms have smart boards, and we have computers with them as well. And then we'll go back to Mrs. Quadros' second grade classroom and see how she uses the smart board for a Foundations lesson. And Foundations is our phonics and word study program that accompanies Reading Street.
Now, the smart board is a replacement for the old-fashioned blackboard, so to speak. And as I understand it, it's hooked up to a laptop or a computer, and the lesson is actually projected right onto that board. Are any of them interactive in any way?
Yes, in fact, you could see in one lesson in Miss Cindric's room, you'll see students coming up and tapping on the smart board to answer a vocabulary quiz. And every time they tap, your finger becomes like the mouse. So the kids can come up and tap and interact with the smart board. The teacher will use it to slide letter tiles around in the second grade Foundations lessons that you'll see. So it really is very interactive, and teachers can also write their own lessons using the notebook software that accompanies the smart board, and sometimes teachers have written lessons to accompany math lessons where there's actually a protractor that they can slide around and measure angles with it. There's dice they can roll. There's all kinds of really cool features to the smart boards, and we're really fortunate. We have one smart board in every classroom, and they're also connected to the internet. So some of the resources we use are web-based as well.
Oh, well, that's great. Now, I noticed when I was just walking around the building that each classroom has a distinctive rug, a carpet on the floor. Could you tell us a little bit about what that's for?
Sure. We start each day with a morning meeting in each classroom, and in fact, on Mondays we have a school-wide morning meeting where the whole school gets together in the gym, and that's part of our responsive classroom approach school-wide. We believe that all kids can and want to learn, and that they need a little bit of fun and community building within their day, and so the morning meeting is a way to start the day on a positive note. It's really important to us that our kids have a joyful and challenging school experience. So we purchased area rugs for each classroom so that they would have a dedicated space where all the children could fit on the floor for a morning meeting and interact. So each grade has a different theme to their rug. The second graders have a rug with the continents on it, and third graders have a rug with the solar system on it because they studied those things in science. So that's why we chose those.
That sounds great. Well, let us move on to second grade.
Great.
Okay.
Today we have music for special at the end of the day. And then I asked you a question, how did you come to school today? So I see a lot of people checked off bus. Well, let's see, about 4 or 5. And then nobody for walking and nobody for riding a bike. It's very cold this morning, so that's a good thing. And then either coming in a car or a truck, your parents' vehicle. So a lot of people come to school that way. Okay, so we'll go over our schedule a little later. I wanted to start our activity. And for an activity today, we're going to do Down by the Banks. Okay, and we all have played that before, so we know the rules and how it goes. So you want to make a nice circle. AJ and Alana and Luca, you might want to come a little closer. Remember, your right hand you hold out like you're serving a pizza, and that goes on top of the person's hand next to you. And then your left hand you hold out the same way, but it goes underneath. Okay, and I see that everybody's ready. I'm going to pick somebody to start, and I want to hear everybody participating. If you get out, you can just scoot back and make another circle on the outside, but you can still participate by singing in the activity. Okay? All right, so why don't I have Carly start today?
Down by the banks of the hanky-panky, where the bullfrogs jump from bank to banky with a hip hop. Don't stop and a wiggle and a wobble and a big curve pop.
Okay, so Ben, that landed on you. So we're going to close in our circle a little bit. Okay, it's getting smaller. All right, Emmett, you can start it down.
By the banks of the hanky-panky, where the bullfrogs jump from bank to banky with a hip hop. Don't stop and a wiggle and a wobble and a big curve pop.
Liam just. Okay, so Liam, you can move in. There you go. All right, we're down to 4. All right, Ashley, go ahead.
Down by the banks of the hanky-panky, where the bullfrogs jump from bank to banky with a hip hop. Don't stop and a wiggle and a wobble and a big curve pop.
Ashley, you didn't let Jackson hit your hands.
Oh my God.
Okay. Go me. All right, Autumn.
Down by the banks of the hanky-panky, where the bullfrogs jump from bank to banky with a hip hop. Don't stop and a wiggle and a wobble and a big curve pop.
Elsa.
How do you do this? I never got this far before.
Okay, so up and down.
Am I up?
You go up. Then you're going to go down.
By the banks of the hanky-panky, where the bullfrogs jump from bank to banky with a hip hop. Don't stop and a wiggle and a wobble and a big curve pop.
So Autumn was coming down, so she would win the game.
I never got that far before.
All right, so you want to make your way back to your spot.
What did we spot? I'm trying to go that far. Oh, I got that far.
Jackson, we're going to lower our voice.
Hi, I'm Molly Sindrick at Hannah Elementary School, and this is my 3rd grade classroom. This is our focus wall for Reading Streets, which is a Scott Forsman program. What we have is each week there's a question of the week that stays focused with the big question that goes along with the unit. So we're actually in a review week right now, so this is all information that the students have learned before. The question of the week was, what do we need to know about saving and spending? And the story that we read throughout the week and all the short stories that we also read go along with that question, as well as the vocabulary words. So different activities that we've done is we look at the vocabulary words, we give examples, we use this focus board as kind of something to refer back to. So not only is the word listed for spelling, but there's also pretty great images for them to look at. And if they're ever kind of curious about one, they can take the card and look right on the back and the definitions there, as well as example sentences for them to kind of refer back to just as a tool. We also have amazing words, which I introduce typically about 3 a day during the week. They're a little extra bonus vocabulary. They're not as essential as the core vocabulary for the week, but they're a little added bonus so that we're kind of buffing up their vocab throughout the year so that they can use it not only in their reading but also in their writing. We always have an ELL poster. It always once again refers back to the question of the week. So this is all about saving and spending, so we'll have a yard sale. Definitely a good example of different ways that you can save money to spend it. The core main focus of the week was all about the supermarket, how there's different varieties there, different ways that you can spend, different ways that you can shop. And then once again, it refers back to the big question, which was which skills help us make our way in the world. So we're kind of always trying to go over one big lesson that's not just for reading, but it's also more of what I would think of as a life lesson as well for the students to kind of think about on their own. Each week we also have a phonics skill and a comprehension skill. So they change throughout the year, but they're constantly being referred back to in every story. So this week the phonics skill was vowel sounds in out and toy. So there was going to be a lot of example of that in our text that the students are reading, and then there's also kind of follow-up materials and worksheets that we can do to practice working with those sounds in our reading. And then the comprehension skill was author's purpose. So that kind of just means, why would the author be writing this? What type of story? Is it narrative, expository? We try and figure out, why the author is writing this, what his or her ultimate goal is. So that's pretty much how the wall works. So one of the stories that each student will get their own Reading Street textbook, and all of the stories that we read are in it. So each one of them has this book in their desk, but I also keep a few floating around the room so they can listen to it on tape, so they can read it, with a special teacher who comes in, or even so they can do it with partner reading as well. So this is an example of one of the stories. Each cover always has the question of the week, so it's the same one here that they list on the cover page, and it also always gives the genre, which is really nice because in 3rd grade we're really working on our writing workshop and learning the difference between a narrative and expository text and how they're very different and how we can kind of use both of them as a learning tool. So this one was a realistic fiction, so then we'll be able to categorize that. Is that a narrative? Is that expository? And then we can kind of keep going back to it in the text and figure out, how does that make this a realistic fiction? So then throughout, you'll have some yellow highlighted words, and those are the vocab words that the students have already learned, because we introduced those in the beginning of the week so that as we read the main story, they're familiar with the word already, and it also really helps with their oral reading because once they recognize the word, they're going to be able to pronounce it better. And each story is just going to kind of keep going. In my teacher edition, I'll have certain questions that the program gives me, kind of just leading questions that help engage the reader more, whether it's something about comprehension or kind of asking, how would you deal with this situation, trying to relate it back to the students so that, they can connect with the text a little more, even if it does seem kind of far away from home. Those are our writing. So that's with our writing program. It is writing workshop, and those are the 6 traits. So we actually have a trait crate that introduces each trait. So there's ideas, voice, organization, word choice, sentence fluency, and then the convention. So just like editing and such. And each month I've been introducing a different trait and then kind of giving them different activities to do to practice using it, because it's a very slow process, but it has to be, or else they're not going to kind of embed the system into their writing. So I have writing workshop 3 times a week. It gives them an opportunity to do not only free writing, but also writing off of a prompt that I may give them. So right now I'm giving them a spooky Halloween prompt. Obviously it's themed around the holiday. And you know, I try and give them as much freedom as possible, but I have each student come to me throughout the week for an editing session. And what we'll do is we'll sit, we'll go over their ideas, I'll help them organize their thoughts, and then evolve, you know, all that creativity and imagination into a proper story. One more word before we go right into our games. Variety.
Having many different kinds.
So I love their sentence.
If you want variety, try Amy's Bakery. She has every kind of bread you can think of.
So think about going to a bakery, or maybe even just kind of the bakery section at the supermarket, right? They have all sorts of different variety. What would that mean? What type of things might you find in a bakery? Malik?
Bread.
Okay, just bread. You're right about that, Mike.
Cupcakes.
Cupcakes. Anything else, Malak? Cake. Alani?
Cupcakes.
Cupcakes. Krista? Muffins. Michael B?
Milk.
Maybe milk. You're going to get that at the supermarket, but not the bakery section. Declan?
Cookies.
Cookies, okay? Lots of variety. Sometimes so much variety can make it tough to choose, don't you think? Now, what might be something else that there's a lot of variety of? So no longer in the bakery section. Where else might there be variety? Willa?
And ice cream.
Ooh, an ice cream store, especially if you go somewhere where there's hundreds or thousands of flavors. Ella?
There will be a lot at a store at the mall.
So there's a lot of variety. And at the mall, what is there variety of?
Almost everything.
You're right. So there's variety when you go in the food court. There's different places you get food. And then in the mall, there's variety because there's so many different shops you can go to. Is we're going to do our vocabulary trivia. Now, lucky for you, there's 8 whole words this week. So, as a reminder, let's remember, if I call your name, you're going to come get in my nice long line. And for those of you who don't remember how to play this one, what is going to happen is I'm going to read a sentence, and there's going to be a blank in the sentence. And whoever's up here, it's their job to choose which word goes in that blank. And it's, of course, going to be one of the words we just learned. Now, they don't get to just pick whatever they want. Of course not. They have to work as a team with the rest of the class. So what you're going to do is, if I'm up here and I think that the word variety goes in the blank, I'm going to say it out loud to you guys, and what are you guys going to do if I'm right? Anybody remember? You're going to give me 2 big thumbs up, okay? And if you think I'm wrong, what do you do then? Give me a thumbs down, and that means I need to rethink what my answer might be, okay? So audience, you've got to be just as much as participants as the person up here clicking so that they know whether or not they've got the right answer, okay? So today, and get in the order that I call your name, I'm going to have Mike come up, Mike K, Juno, then Willa, then Katie, then Kate, Malak, Anthony, and Zach. All right, so remember, give them those thumbs up so they know whether or not they can click.
So, you want to have some fun? Play a little game, win some knowledge? Yeah? Okay, well check this out.
Welcome to Vocabulary Trivia.
All
The
right.
goal here is to answer the questions. Pretty simple, huh? Now, the faster you answer a question, the higher your score will be. Your answer choices will begin to disappear as time passes. With each vanishing answer, you'll lose points. And if all the answers disappear, you'll score 0. So be mindful of the clock. And when you're ready to begin, click start.
All right, we ready? Are your thumbs ready? Did we warm them up this morning? Do some flexes. Okay, first sentence. We usually wash our blank on the weekend.
Laundry.
Nicely done. Our seats are in the blank closest to the court.
Section.
Thumb up or thumb down, help them out. Nice job, Juno. After the sale at the store, the blank were almost empty. Nice. The vegetables on the counter blank after a week.
Spoiled. Yes.
You felt positive about that one. I will spend my money when we go to the grass to grow, we spread blank of seeds.
Thousands.
I blank my carrots for an apple.
Great.
Nicely done. One more, Zach. We have a blank of plants growing in our garden.
Right.
Nicely done. 8 for 8.
There is. You.
We've been talking this week about the ed suffix, and can somebody remind me and remind the class what a suffix is again? What is a suffix, Carly?
It's something that comes at the end of a word.
Good. It's a sound that gets added on to the end of a word. You're right. And ed is kind of a neat suffix because it makes 3 different sounds. Who remembers one of the sounds that ed can make when it's added on to the end of a base word? Elsa. It can make the t sound. What else can it say? So we know it can say t. What else can ed say? Sarah? Duh. And what else can ed say? Ben? It. Good. Okay. We are going to add a new word of the day to our word of the day books. And it is a word with an ed suffix. So I'm going to spell the word up on my board. And while I'm doing that, I want you to get out your orange folders. Find your student notebooks. It's the one with the monkey on it. Okay, and our word of the day starts with the letter C. So you want to find the C page, which it looks like is on page 39. Okay? Let me put...
Trick words.
Nope, not trick words, word of the day. So it's under vocabulary, page 39. Before we write it down, let's tap our root word up. So everybody's elbows up. Ready? Ch, e, k, check. Now, if we add our ed suffix, remember we don't tap suffixes. Let's put our elbows up again and do it. Ch, e, k, check, checked. What do we hear in checked? What is ed saying? Carly?
T.
It's making the t sound, okay? Now, under your C, right next to the big C, you're going to write the word checked. So write that first, checked. Okay, who remembers how to mark checked? How are we going to mark it, Sarah? Okay, so I'm going to circle the suffix ed. I'm going to underline the base word. You're right. And what sound did we say ed makes checked? T. So we're going to put a T above it because that reminds us ed is making the t sound. Okay, now we need a sentence using the word checked. Who has an idea for a good sentence using the word checked? Elsa, how about you? Okay, so I checked my calendar to see if there was a special date or a special day coming up. Okay, let's use that. So everybody under the word checked, we're going to write I checked my calendar. How about if we just stop there? Okay, I checked my calendar. And then I'm going to ask for you to mark checked again in your sentence because that is the word of the day. Remember, we underline the base word. I want you to check yours with mine. Make sure you have your capital letter, your N mark. And then I was going to ask for another 2 volunteers to come up and mark the words bumped and swelled. Somebody who hasn't been up yet. If you haven't been up yet. Alana. Why don't you mark the word bumped? Good. And can you write the sound that ED is making? Bumped. What do you hear in bumped? Nice job. And somebody else who hasn't been up, Luca, can you mark swelled? Good. And what sound do you hear in swelled? Swelled. That's fine. It's okay. It's okay. We know it's a D. Oh. Good. So it makes the D sound. Nice job. Okay, so I can see we're all working on our handwriting. Things look good as I'm walking around the room. You can put these papers back in your folders. And then you can put your folders in your desk. And we're done with foundations for the day.
Push in your chair and line up. Yes, please.